Welcome everyone to Neverwinter on PC. My name is Rainer and today I will be bringing back the Trapper Hunter. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you would like to see more information or videos about Neverwinter, hit the subscribe button. So first of all, immediately a disclaimer. To be clear, this video is not an exact build guide. My build is not completely optimized yet. However, with this non-optimized build, it already does significant damage even in the hardest content Cyril. And at the end of the video I will show you some gameplay footage where I beat some wizards and a warden ranger, and it was kind of fun. For now, get ready to become a trapper again. So you might say, what has happened? Why is Trapper good again? Well, Trappers have received some significant buffs. Well, they have actually gotten a couple of small buffs here and there already in the past. But with mod 19, they have received some really big buffs in a couple of areas. And it's all basically written right here. This was a post of No Worries where they were working on preview still, and basically, well, almost everything of this has been implemented on the live server as well, and it's actually a little bit better even on the live server. This build basically comes down to, we will be buffing everyone, including ourselves, with a 10% damage increase. But most builds and other players we will still be out damaging. It's actually a little condescending thinking about it. We're helping others doing more damage, and then still we do more damage ourselves. One quick note before everyone runs out and makes 6 of these Trapper Rangers for the trials: the 10% damage bonus does not stack. So what has changed? Aim shot reduced to 1 second total cast time, and it says here reduce magnitude to 175. So this, I think it was 1.3 or something, and the magnitude, I'm not sure what it was. I think it was 200, because on, at least on preview here, it is 200. It's not 175. So that's already better than it was. Then rate of change increased to 15%. That actually happened. It was 5%. So what does this do? Whenever you change stance, so you go from range to melee or melee to range, you get a 15% damage boost, and this damage boost goes down by 2% per second, and well, it refreshes immediately when you change stance again. So you're gonna change stance quite a bit with this build. Let's say it like that. It's not boring. Let's say it like that. Then Thorn Roots increased magnitude to 75. I'm not sure what it was, and controlled magnitude to 225. We're also using that. Big damage here to especially enemies that cannot be controlled. You do basically double damage with your Thorn Roots to, for example, Zero. Slash's expertise duration increased to 15 seconds. I don't even know, is that... no, it's still 10 seconds, but we're not using this. This is melee, and we will be doing most of our damage in ranged. You can already see the powers a little bit. A split shot, we're not using. Long strider, maybe for a real pure DPS build this will be useful, but we're now looking at the more of a trapper build, which already does a ton of damage. Skirmishes Gambit, that's for the Warden. Deft Strikes, I think that's also for the Warden, but we're not using it. No, we're not using that. Nope. Aspect of the Serpent increased to 3%. So, Aspect of the Serpent, you would be expecting that this would also be something, and maybe there also is a build to be made around this one, but we're not using this one here. Once again, because we're doing most of our damage in ranged, which I will show you in a minute, So this buff will not be there much. You will be using this one instead, where we do 10% more damage in range stance when we are within 25 feet. So we still want to be close to the target. And of course, Seeker's Vengeance as well, 10% more damage when you're behind the target, where you want to be all the time. So this is also once again it's specifically for trials. We focus here on single target damage. In AoE it's not that fantastic, but okay. So these changes, we're using a lot of it. Everything, well actually these here we'll use most of all. The first three, nothing else. Yeah, we're just using the first three, but those things are amazing. Okay, so before we go to the powers and to the rotation, I want to go to the gear. So once again, we're using mostly ranged, and we're using thorned roots. So thorned roots are, I think, not melee and not ranged at all. So that's actually where the Ring of the Shadowstalker comes in, because this is not stance related. It's not related to anything. You just need to be close to the enemy and then you do more damage. So this will also help us do more damage on our roots, which are a big source of damage, but also help us with our ranged attacks. And we add in the Guiding Ring of the Sharpshooter for more range damage. Other than that, I still miss a headpiece. I think I want to have another Infernal Forge shirt, and I need different pants to fully make this build right, because we're still using, I think, an Azure in here. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. You can see my power is a bit low, but once again, with this build I did very well in some hefty content, and I've been practicing this for a while. It's not easy. So with this new rings, we also need, of course, different companion gear. And for companion gear, we actually have multiple options. We can use the pristine belt of the companion, and this one is actually the same as the Imperial belt of the companion. It has exactly the same stats. You can already see I have some accuracy on here, that's also not optimal. So that is already something you can swap out for free. It's exactly the same, there's no difference. Then on top of this one, or the Imperial belt, we can add either the silver icon of the companion with crit and armor penetration and the gold leaf grimoire, or we can also pick the Ivy Grown grimoire and the Ivy Grown icon. They will have the same stats as these two combined, so that's also something you can just pick. If you don't have all of the companion gear, it's nice to be so flexible. So it's this combination, and then for the belt, either this one or the Imperial Diamond belt. Whatever you have. Then for mounts, I'm not going through all of the insignias, because once again it's not optimized yet. I will probably release a build file from the character builder where it is optimized. I made a nice build for it, which will do a massive amount of damage. I don't even know, let me actually see, because I have it here. This is the stats that I have in the builder. Is this with the buffs? So with the buffs, and then in combat we will have a massive 226,000 power with everything nicely kept, of course. So this will be even better. I can't wait. I think I'm very close to actually making a build on the live server, so I'm really excited. So for insignia bonuses, I'm using Assassin's Covenant because it's just, well, you just lose 1000 defense, the other defensive ratings don't matter that much, and you get back 4000 useful ratings, so it's just easy to build up a character like that. So I just like to use this. If you use another one, you just swap out 500, so a little bit less worth it. Then Competence Maneuver. I could actually take advantage of this now. The Warden Ranger has the problem that Competence Maneuver has not it doesn't have a 100% uptime. The Trapper does have a 100% uptime. So with two of these, with one you gain 2500 combat advantage, and it's not damage, it's just 2500 combat advantage, and with two you get 3750. So the second one you get 50%. So I don't have to have 140,000 combat advantage, but let me see by heart, 136,250, something like that. Don't hate me when I get that calculation wrong, but whatever. And then of course also Gladiator's Guile, because it's just nice to be quick, right? It's just nice. I'm also using the HP amount here because it's just too great, but yeah. Then we get to the powers. You've already seen it at the start of the video a little bit. We're using Aimed Shot, and this will be the only at will that we use. Hunter's Teamwork, we can swap it out for someone else, it doesn't matter, we're not using it. The melee Aim Strike, if you get it right, you will not use it, but once again, it's not easy because of the rotation. You might get one or two aim strikes in between. It's a loss of damage, it's not great, but once you get this all muscle memoried in, you will be only using Aimed Shot. Then we want to revolve our build around Commanding Shot, and Commanding Shot is also a power that's gotten a buff, also a nerf, I guess. In mod 18 it increased the damage to the target by 5% for you and for everyone else, so this increases the incoming damage to the target by 10%, so this counts for everyone, and it applies Strong Grasping Roots now. In mod 18 I think it was 5%, and also decreased the damage of the enemy by 5%. Just imagine that that was also the case, that would have been even better. But yeah, this is the power that your build will revolve around. This is the big one. And you will want to keep this 10% buff up all the time. So you want to do your whole rotation in those 10 seconds and then do this power again. So you might say, wait a minute, how are you going to keep a buff up which takes 10 seconds and has a cooldown of 14.4 seconds? Well, that's where the feats come in. So Forest Bond says, when you apply Strong Grasping Roots or Thorned Roots, you reduce the cooldown of all your currently recharging powers by 10%. This amount is reduced to 5% for Weak Grasping Roots. Well, you will see that we will be doing Strong Grasping Roots here. This one doesn't, but we're not using this that much. It's just for emergencies actually. This one does Strong Grasping Roots, which we'll also be using, and Hindering Strike also gives Strong Grasping Roots, and the Hindering Shot gives Weak Grasping Roots. So we have a lot of cooldown reduction. We have 3 times 10% and 1 times 5% that is going to remove from the cooldowns. And that makes it possible to really always have Commanding Shot available in time. So we have a lot of Grasping Roots, which means that we also want to make use of it. So I'm also using Biting Snares, which is also amazing, by the way. When you apply Grasping Roots or Thorned Roots, you gain 1% of your action points back. And I can tell you, together with this Disruptive Shot, which only uses a quarter of your action points, and using this feat, something else? No, I think only this feat, you will be able to do this in your 10-second rotation. So you will be doing it daily, every 10 seconds, and you will be recharging your AP quicker than you are using it. So you will always be able to do this Disruptive Shot. Now, I'm going a little bit all over the place, but it's actually following a line. Disruptive Shot also is nice to use because of the last feat here, More Than Disruptive. Disruptive Shot increases your range damage by 10% for 5 seconds. Another damage boost by 10%. So we have 10% here, we have 10% here, we have 10% here, 10% there. We have a lot of damage on the roots. We get a lot of action points back, cooldown reduction, and this 15% damage boost is also on top of everything. So we have quite a bit of damage boosts. So yeah, Hindering Shot, Constricting Arrow and Steel Breeze, which also recharges your stamina, which is also nice. If you've been shifting around, dodging mechanics, you can use Steel Breeze and your stamina is basically full again, which synergizes a little bit with your Lionheart weapons, where you need more stamina to do more damage. And Commanding Shot, which is very valuable. Stag Heart you will not be using in your standard rotation, but it actually gives you and everyone in your party 15% of max life shield, which is nice in an emergency situation. Don't override a paladin shield with this. The paladins will not be happy with that, and it's smaller, so your party members will also not be happy. But if you have an emergency, and this has saved me already today, one time, when you don't have a shield and you get a big hit, just use it, maybe you'll survive. It's better than nothing. It's 15% of your max life anyway, so this is also pretty good. And it has a big radius, so if you're not too close to your party members and they need a shield for some reason, let's say phase 5 of Cyril, where there's a lot of damage incoming, this might also be useful to pick up some shields if the paladin doesn't have divinity anymore, for example. So now we get to the rotation, and this is where it gets interesting. So if you want to do your rotation, and I'm going to do this very slowly first, if you want to include your artifacts and your, it's not Dancer's Floating Disc, but this is the Bat Swarm. If you want to use them at the start of this rotation. So you start off with your active artifacts, which is buffing or debuffing, it doesn't really matter. In combat you will be debuffing often in the trial, and your mount power. Then we want to use our Commanding Shot. That's first. We want to get our 10% damage buff up. Immediately after that, we'll be using Disruptive Shot for another 10%. So at this point we will be doing 20% more damage on top of being behind the dummy and being close to the dummy, which is another 2 times 10%. So that's already 40%. And very important also, we want to make use of rate of change. So before you go into combat, you actually want to be in melee stance. And this is when you want to use your artifacts and your mount power. In melee stance, don't do this in ranged. And then after you did those two, immediately swap and do your Commanding Shot and then your Disruptive Shot. Then we do an aim shot. And no, don't just do it like this, but during aim shot, we actually want to refresh the rate of change. So rate of change says when you switch to ranged, you get a 15% bonus, which is decaying. So you want to refresh that. So what you can do is while you're casting aimed shots, you basically double tap your stance, which then refreshes your rate of change. So you do 15% more damage. We don't do that one time, but we do that 2 times. So we do Commanding Shot, Disruptive Strike, aimed shot with a double tap, and then aimed shot again with a double tap. So that looks like this. Oh, that was an aimed strike already. Once again, it can be a little bit tricky to pull this off. You have to be a little bit in flow. So make sure to get into double tapping while doing aimed shot. So once again, Commanding Shot, Disruptive Strike, 2 of these. Then we do Hindering Shot, Actually, that's constrictive, I think. I'm going too fast. So then you want to do constricting indeed, constricting arrow, which once again applies strong grasping roots. Maybe important to note, strong grasping roots, very important actually, it lasts 3 seconds. This is very important to note because you want to apply this for 3 seconds and then use the next strong grasping roots. And we have 3, which is in total 9 seconds of strong grasping roots. If you use them too early, it's a little bit like Blade Fury, but worse. No, actually less bad, because Blade Fury, it doesn't refresh. If you use strong grasping roots first and then you use it again, it actually overrides the previous one. So you are missing some of the damage of your strong grasping roots, because it takes 3 seconds and it does 75 magnitude every second. So we want to split them apart 3 seconds to make the maximum damage. So if you do Commanding Shot, this is a very slow one, so we want to start off with this. At the end we have strong grasping roots. Then we use Disruptive Shot, which takes half a second. And then we do 2 times Aimed Shot, which is both 1 second. So we are 2.5 seconds further. And then we want to use Constricting Arrow, which also takes half a second. And then we have another strong grasping root. So we're 3 seconds further and we have the next strong grasping roots. Perfect, right? So now we again want to have 3 seconds before we apply the next strong grasping root. So we continue with our Hindering Shot, which applies weak grasping roots, which further decreases your cooldown here. This doesn't override your strong grasping roots, by the way. So this is half a second further. Then we do Aimed Shot twice again with the double tap. And then we go into melee, where we do Steel Breeze, which is half a second. So we're 3 seconds further. And then we do Hindering Strike, which is... actually, it would be better to do Hindering Strike here first. Yeah. So that's basically an improvement that I made. So we have Constricting Arrow activated, then we have half a second, 1 second, 1 second is 2.5. And then we can do Hindering Strike, which also is half a second. So we again at 3 seconds, we apply the strong grasping roots. And then once again we do Steel Breeze, which is half a second, Aimed Strike, Aimed Shot with a double tap 2 times, which is 2.5, and then we go back to Commanding Shot. Actually, you could do Commanding Shot after, basically after 1 Aimed Strike, because this is just 10 seconds. So yeah, so if you do it after 1, you'll be 9 seconds further. You can do it after 1 if Commanding Shot is available. If it's not, you can also do 2, but I guess 1 is more optimal, because this is 1.4 seconds plus the 1 second here is 2.4, plus the half a second of Steel Breeze is 2.9. That's close enough. So we will actually be doing Commanding Shot every 9 seconds then. And if you do 1 more Aimed Shot, it's every 10 seconds. But it will be up almost all of the time. Let me try to do this rotation real time and show you how it goes. And at the end, we will be going also to some footage of in-game. Maybe interesting to note, we have about 24 actions that we're doing in 10 seconds, which is quite a lot to keep track of. So yeah, I'm gonna mess up at some point. When I did my test here on the target dummy, I reached, with this build, with the low power build, because I don't have everything up, I reached about 420 encoded DPS, which is pretty damn good actually. So let me show you the rotation. Okay, that was a little bit sloppy at times, but once again, this is not the easiest rotation out there. You have to be very on point with your double taps to get the maximum damage out of this rotation. So let me do the outro here so we can do the gameplay footage afterwards. Enjoy. And if you have any remarks in this video or any suggestions on what to investigate next, feel free to leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.
You believe you are worthy?
Yes, my lady.
You honor me by not holding back. So neither will I.
Are you ready for this? I'll leave them to you, Hermandad.